What are we doing today?
Making some breads. We're gonna make some focaccia and then some French loaf.
A little bit of Malbec.
Yeah, that's the wine of the day. So this is French bread. It doesn't take any measuring. Because either you're doing everything based on how much flour you have, or everything based on how much water and yeast you have. I think that should be plenty there. Now I'm going to have a well big enough to actually make bread. Ish, that still looks kind of full. May not need all that. Not the best pour I've ever done. Look, I got dribbles. Yeah. You just kick some old flour on there. Get your fingers in. Work that in a little bit. Start coming around the edges. Bringing it together. Yeah. So it looks pretty dry on the outside just because it's covered in dry flour. But I can feel it. It's pretty moist.
Oh, it's real nice, dude.
It's a doe. A deer. A female deer.
Yep.
Ray, guy I work with. It's always hydrated enough to start working. Gonna give it the same treatment we did the other one. It's just gonna go a lot longer. I'm not gonna have to do my push-ups tomorrow.
No.
Work out right here. This is one of the things to me that's like one of those Zen kind of tasks. So
ASMR, those little whisper videos.
Yeah, I don't understand what that's about. But there are some jobs you wind up doing that you can like zen out on.
Yeah.
And so for me, like shucking oysters, stand there and do it all day. Cut meat, filleting fish, whatever it is, stand there and do it all day. Butchering birds, kneading bread.
Yeah. We just want a bit more chew on the crust of this bad boy.
Yeah, this is you want it to be chewy. It's got to have a good pull. It's got to be nice and crusty, which is hard to do at home. So we can only do, you know, what's able to be accomplished in a shitty electric oven. There are some things you can do to kind of give yourself the best odds.
I see that getting tight.
So if you look at the skin now, there's a lot more of that sort of stringy stuff that we were talking about earlier. That means we have more gluten in this bread, which is what we're going for, which is why we're taking all this time to knead it out. Worky, worky, worky. Those poor bakers. Do you know, I think you're kind of the same way. I don't generally get along with bakers.
Is this a confessional?
Well, maybe.
Well, it's different. It's different
I've
cooking.
had it out with a few. So we're getting pretty close now, I think.
Yeah, I can see it's more elasticy.
It's getting quite firm. Should have those little calorie counter things, you know?
Yeah, right?
You've burned 15 calories. That's like, you know, 2 strips of bacon out of the 20 I had today.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Slow down so I can look at it. Thank you. Yeah. Nice elastic on the outside.
So it's springy. It leaves a fingerprint, but it springs back a lot. It's a pretty firm, pretty hardy dough. So our dough has risen. Once again, we need to give it a good old punching, which means just knock the gas out. And for a big strong dough like this, it's best just to use your fist. I got them big old knuckles, so I have some baker genes in me, maybe. This fella we're gonna cook like a loaf, so we're gonna have to roll it up nice and tight. No big bubbles. It's a little bit long. I want to kind of even everything up. We're going to roll it. So starting with a uniform shape helps you end with a uniform shape. But we're doing this kind of rustic. Like I'm not putting it in a bread pan or anything. We're going to put it on a sheet pan and just make it kind of old school. There is a trick to this. And honestly, I'm not the best at it. I don't make bread a lot. So you got to work the dough into itself with your fingertips as you begin your roll. And then continue to do that throughout your roll. Otherwise, you wind up with these, when you cut into it, you can see the little swirls from how you rolled everything up. Once you get a little bit of meat behind it, it's a lot easier to go over and over. I'm sure there's like I said, not a baker. I'm sure there are better
Right?
techniques for this. I am sure. This is kind of how I was taught, and I've always done. I went over pretty big there. Tuck the little tail in there. Tuck the little tail in there. That's going to be right on the bottom, ultimately, so that's not too bad. It goes back in there. That one's going to blow up again. 2.
Go fuck yourself.
Alright, so normally you would just use a little flour. I'm going to use a little bit of oil because this is supposed to be a crusty bread, and getting a good bread crust in a home oven is hard. It almost just doesn't happen, at least as crusty as I like bread. And the only way you can kind of help that is either lube it up a little bit with some oil, which you normally, use butter or something. I just don't have a brush to brush it on, so no big deal. Olive oil will work in the same way. Just layer out there. I'm going to just lube my fingers up a bit with some olive oil and just kind of give it a massage.
What will this accomplish?
This is going to help it brown and get crusty. Egg wash, butter, stuff, olive oil, anything that's got some fat in it. Not only going to add good flavor, but it's going to help. So this bread, it's already kind of splitting because I've not taken good care of it and being careful. I stretched it when I pulled it out of the pan and stuff, but if you don't relieve some of the pressure in the crust, it'll start splitting and get kind of ugly. I don't really care about it being ugly, but normally you would you'd kind of slit right down. Fairly deep, you know, centimeter, something like that. And you could do it, you know, all kinds of different ways. That's just easy. Bread is done. Looking lovely. The focaccia, nice and tender. French loaf. Got a nice crust to it. We got some stew for supper, but and I have a knife here, but I like to tear. Oh man. See that steam coming out of there? You know it's done. Fuck. Audie. Man. Have a smell of that. Smell that.
Yeah.
There you go. Got a nice chew to it. Good crust. I mean, I would like it crustier, but that's as good as it's gonna get around here. It hasn't quite set yet. We broke into it a little early. It's fine. It can't hurt nothing.
That's real good.
Let's make a bowl of stew. A
Yeah.
bunch of bread
Yeah.
and stew. Stand by. Where's my phone? Oh, this is gonna be jerk off material for like a week.
I just recorded that. All right.
So, beef stew, some delicious bread, delicious glass of wine. What more could you ask for?
All right. Here we
Salud, pal.
go. Cheers.
Oh, it's gonna be really hot, temperature hot.
So good.
You give you a little chubby.
That's so good.
It's arousing. Oh. Alright. Give it a try. Enjoy it. I'm hungry. It's time to eat dinner.